You ever notice how the loudest people swear they've always believed in something, but their past keep accidentally testifying against them? See, this is not a theory or a conspiracy. This is definitely a timeline. And once the timeline lines up, the story completely collapses. Y'all watch this carefully because every clip answers the clip before it.
You've broken the law. You didn't come here the way you were supposed to. So this is not going to be a free ride. What's going to happen is you are going to learn English. You are going to go to the back of the line so that you don't get ahead of somebody who was in Mexico City applying legally. I think the American people, they appreciate and believe in immigration, but they can't have a situation where you just have 500,000 people pouring over the border without any kind of mechanism to control it. You've broken the law.
Oh, man, and that is Mr. Barack Obama, Mr. Deporter-in-Chief. Now, notice what he didn't say. You know, he didn't say borders are racist. He didn't say enforcement was evil. He didn't say let everyone in and we'll figure it out later like the previous administration basically did. He said control matters. What? 500,000 people pouring over the border without control. His words. Not mine, y'all. Those his words. So, you know, pausing right there. If border enforcement is immoral, then why did that sound reasonable? Hold that thought, because now we got to fast forward. Same state, same party, different decade, same truth, slipping out. Oh, it's supposed to play, y'all. Look.
You said earlier that the ICE agents under the orders of President Trump are a modern-day Gestapo. Do you realize how disgusting a phrase that is, considering the history of Nazi Germany? Would you like to recant that statement?
What I said, Congressman, and I have a long history of supporting law enforcement, I said President Trump was using them as his modern-day Gestapo, not identifying who you are, coming up in unmarked vans, taking people away and giving...
Is it the responsibility of ICE to actually deport illegal aliens in the United States who are here? Isn't that their responsibility?
Yes, it is, Congressman, except that the Constitution is not an inconvenience. It's not an either-or.
Nobody said an inconvenience. You have a responsibility to deport illegal aliens, and the president is going through that process right now. And let's be very clear, the previous administration, they abused every process there is under border laws to allow more than 10 million people into the country illegally. And this is a burden on all Americans. And so the president is doing his job. So it is sick to refer to Americans who are ICE agents as Gestapo. Governor, you're wrong. You need to apologize to these agents. They're doing their jobs. They are Americans. They serve this country with honor and decency and respect. Do not diminish their work simply because you tried to make a cheap point.
Now this is where it gets really uncomfortable. Your boy Walsh, ooh, because you got asked a simple question and responded pretty complicated. The simple question was, what is ICE supposed to do? Like, what is their job? And that simple answer was supposed to be, yes, deport illegal aliens. So now we've got some important rhetoric, agreement, which raises a quiet question the left never wants to ask. If ICE is doing its job, why are they always treated like the criminals? Let's keep going. Because, once the job is acknowledged, the next question becomes deadly. What happens when the job or that job exposes the money?
You have failed the people of Minnesota to provide free health care to illegal aliens. You signed the Higher Education Omnibus Bill into law in May of 2023. That bill allows illegals to have their college tuition paid for by the state. You signed the Driver's License for All Act into law in March of 2023, and that bill allows illegals to receive driver's licenses. So, you claim you're not a sanctuary state. You just provide free health care, free college, and driver's licenses to illegal aliens. One reason you're here testifying before us today is because you refuse to cooperate with ICE. While states like Florida and Virginia empower their law enforcement to detain and remove criminal illegal aliens, you, sir, have done just the opposite. Your Attorney General is directing law enforcement to ignore ICE immigration detainers. Do you agree with the Attorney General's guidance?
Well, Congressman, it's good to see you again, and thank you for being here. First, I would say as my job as governor of Minnesota is to make Minnesota the best state in the nation.
Do you agree with the Attorney General's guidance?
Congressman, what I would say on this is that Minnesota follows all law. I would say
it's a very easy question. And again, if you claim you're not a sanctuary state, you just claim that you support policies. You're not a sanctuary state, but you support policies that prevent ICE from doing their job.
Congressman,
isn't that right?
That is incorrect, Congressman. We follow the same laws when you were in the Minnesota House. The law has not changed,
If you'll allow me, I've got limited time. Well, that's what you tweeted, by the way, sir. On May 23rd, 2018, you tweeted, quote, "I support policies that keep law enforcement from enforcing federal laws," close quote. On May 17th, just this spring, at the University of Minnesota Law School's commencement ceremony, you said, quote, "Donald Trump's modern-day Gestapo is scooping folks up off the streets." When you said the words modern-day Gestapo, you were referring to ICE agents. Gestapo, by the way, sir, was the official secret police of Hitler's Nazi Germany. So you're calling ICE agents modern-day Nazis. Given the attacks on ICE agents that took place in Los Angeles over the weekend, don't you regard your dangerous inflammatory rhetoric as a problem?
The questions do you want me to answer first?
So, sir, it saddens me that you refuse to express regret from comparing ICE to Nazis. ICE agents are brave Americans who get up every morning, leave their families, and put their lives in harm's way to protect our country, sir. You, at the very least, owe an apology to these dedicated public servants. I will say, sir, inflammatory rhetoric such as yours and the other governors on this panel is responsible for putting a target on the back of every ICE agent who is risking their life to protect our communities. Minnesota is all too familiar, by the way, with the chaos that ensues when you refuse to work with law enforcement to enforce the law. In May 2020, looting, acts of violence, and arson occurred on your watch in Minneapolis after you refused to bring in the National Guard. Governor, your agenda is clear: free health care, free college and driver's licenses for illegals, while handcuffing law enforcement when they're trying to protect our citizens and their communities. If you think that's not a sanctuary state, you shouldn't be governor. By turning Minnesota into a magnet for illegals, you have opened up our communities to dangerous criminals, including known terrorists, gang members, murderers, and child predators. You have sent a resounding message that if you're a hardworking, law-abiding citizen of Minnesota, your safety and well-being are not the priorities of Tim Walz and his administration. But if you're coming to our state illegally, you're not only welcome with open arms, you're entitled to free stuff on the taxpayer's dime. This is absolutely disgraceful. Governor Walz, your sanctuary state agenda has been defined by your utter failure. You have failed to enforce the rule of law. You have failed to uphold our national sovereignty. And most importantly, you have failed the people of Minnesota. The time for radical sanctuary state policy, sir, is over. The voters made that clear last November when they elected President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance. You remember him, don't you? Governor, the time for real leaders and real leadership is now. And with that, sir, actually, Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent to introduce into the record the governor's tweet that I referenced from May 23rd, 2018, which makes it clear his hatred for federal law enforcement.
My God, he had to rub J.D. Vance in his face hard. But listen to the tone shift. That wasn't outrage. In my opinion, that was real frustration. Whistleblowers ignored, officials fired before testifying, billions vanishing quietly. Yeah, here's the part people miss. You don't protect chaos unless chaos benefits someone. And now you're starting to see why the narrative had to be loud. Which brings, us the receipts, because the truth, is super expensive, y'all. When words fail, paperwork, it talks.
We have boots on the ground in Minnesota, and through our fraud prevention, we have found that there is likely over $84 million in eligible assistance that was given to the state of Minnesota during the Biden administration, including almost $500,000 in improper assistance to over 500 dead tenants. And so you think about that, Tony. Over $84 million of hard-working taxpayer money that was shelled out during the Biden administration in improper assistance and serving over 500 dead people with almost $500,000 of assistance. This is a lack of stewardship. It's gross negligence. But I'm grateful at this time that our team on the ground has found these improper payments, and we will hold those accountable that are responsible for this. We have
dead people. They can't cash checks, and they don't. Someone else does. 500 deceased tenants, $84 million, and suddenly the anger toward enforcement starts to make sense. You know, it makes a lot of sense because enforcement doesn't just deport people, it interrupts systems. But here's what really shattered the script, so to speak. They told you Americans didn't support this. They try to convince you it was just activists, but then this happened.
You know, I love the fucking suburb I'm in. So ICE was just in my suburb at our local grocery store while I was there, and they were grabbing somebody. Nobody in the grocery store stopped them from doing their job. Everybody was clapping and excited about ICE being there. People were hooting and hollering, you know, chanting for ICE. You gotta love small towns in Minnesota, honestly. We are so fucking stoked. And honestly, you know what I did after the ICE agents got done with their job and what they were doing? I said, can I buy you all, you know, like something to drink, something to eat? And I did. And I sure fucking did, because you know what? I'm excited that ICE is in Minnesota. Really excited. I'm not going to tell you the suburb I'm in, but it's close to Stillwater. We'll just leave it at that. Best thing I've seen today is watching an ICE agent arrest somebody and send them back to where they came from. Love it. Super happy about it. Love the suburb I live in, because there was no protesting. Nobody stopped them. Nobody did. Because no one gives a shit. We want them gone. You know, I love the fucking suburb.
No bullhorns, no hashtags, no organizers here. Just regular people clapping back. That's the moment the narrative definitely snaps, because if this was so unpopular, that reaction, it wouldn't exist. Which is why the cameras always pan somewhere else. Until they couldn't, right? And when the illusion cracks, they switch to chaos.
Oh, he's so tough. Oh my God. Fucking idiot. Fuck fucking home. We don't fucking want you here. We don't need you here. You don't make us safe. You fucking murderers.
Now, this part matters. Peaceful protest, that's protected, but defying laws, that obviously isn't. You see how fast accountability gets edited into oppression with these type of clips. You know, that's the trick. Make enforcement look cruel so no one asks, what is, what was it? So nobody asks what it was enforcing. Why can I not get I'm just waking up, to be honest with y'all. Political pressure definitely has a tail. And it looks like retreat. When leaders know the story won't hold, they don't fight. They just exit.
His meeting with Senator Amy Klobuchar set off speculation of her launching a run to succeed him, something we first asked about back at the state fair.
Amy Klobuchar runs for governor and appoints Walz to fulfill her term in the U.S. Senate.
It sounds like people have been drinking a lot of beer at the beer garden. So I believe the governor is going to run. I think he should run.
The Speaker of the House and a leading Republican candidate for governor immediately came to the Capitol press room.
Surprised or not surprised? I am not surprised. I was surprised a little bit at the timing, but this is expected. The fact that Governor Walz, with all of the fraud and everything that has gone on, thought that he should be running for a third term. I think most Minnesotans were saying probably not. Waking up all Minnesotans to realize how big it is, that you can't just ignore it anymore. People should be able to disagree, but it never should be violent. And you know, Mary, as I've talked since the tragedy, that my working relationship with Melissa Hortman was something I valued very much.
She's a mentor to you.
She was, even though we didn't agree politically. Right. And I think that's a really good example of how you can build a working relationship even when you don't agree on politics.
But is the president perpetuating a lie?
But what I'll say though is when you see the statements that came out from the Hortman kids, those were so heartfelt and so well done. And I don't mean just great job. They were so heartfelt on that the tweets and the retweeting of conspiracy, I don't think Governor Walz had anything to do with the tragedy that took place, but it's shaken all of us. Would I tweet that or put that out? No, I wouldn't.
Some of your colleagues have called for his resignation now. How do you feel about that?
We'll see what he chooses to do. He's still the governor right now, but obviously the story on fraud is exploding. These are things that are not new, Mary, and we've been talking about fraud for years.
I'm not going anywhere.
Oh, my fault. Y'all had the mic off. Notice the language now. No denial, no confidence, just distance. Because when timelines connect, excuses, they can't survive. And that brings us to the final place. After denial, after distraction, after all that, y'all, Trump's statement. Let me put it back on the big screen so y'all can read that. Let me scroll up. Let me take me off real quick. I'm going to wait for that to go. So for the people who need to pause. But you don't have to agree with every word that you see here. But you can't miss the pattern. First, they said enforcement was wrong. I'm sorry, y'all. I keep muting the mic. My bad. Then they admitted that it was necessary. This wasn't about left versus right today, y'all. It was about truth versus noise. And you made it to the end of this video. I'm over here fumbling all of my editing today. I want you to put the timeline never lies in the comment section. Y'all be safe. Go check on a friend today. You can quite literally be saving their life. Peace.